God says, "Beloved soul, do not let the word final frighten you, because this is not about endings or distance, it is about readiness." There have been moments in your life when you sensed something trying to reach you, a gentle thought that lingered longer than usual, a feeling that stayed even when you tried to distract yourself, a quiet whisper beneath your daily noise. Those were not coincidences. They were invitations. But invitations cannot be forced. They must be received. God says, "Many times I have spoken through stillness, through patience, through doors that did not open when you expected them to. I have spoken through delay so that you would not step into something too soon. I have spoken through peace so subtle that you mistook it for ordinary calm. I have spoken through your own inner voice when it urged you to slow down, to reflect, to reconsider." None of those moments were accidents. They were gentle attempts to guide you without overwhelming you. Beloved soul, you have been busy carrying responsibilities, managing expectations, holding together pieces of your life that felt fragile. In that busyness, it is easy to overlook what is quiet. But quiet things are not weak. They are steady. And steadiness has been surrounding you more than you realize. God says, "This moment feels important not because something dramatic is about to happen, but because your heart is finally positioned to understand what has always been there." Growth does not always arrive with noise. Sometimes it arrives when exhaustion softens resistance and clarity becomes more appealing than confusion. You are not being corrected. You are being aligned. Beloved soul, think of the times you felt a nudge to change direction, to release something gently, to step back instead of forward. You may have questioned those instincts. Yet those instincts were guidance forming quietly within you. Guidance that respects your free will. Guidance that waits until you are ready to listen without defensiveness. God says, "I do not compete with the noise of your world. I wait for your attention to become still enough to recognize presence." Presence has never left you. It has simply remained patient. And patience is not distance. It is love that refuses to rush you. Beloved soul, there is something within you that has always known you are capable of more balance, more peace, more steady living than you allowed yourself to believe. That knowing has been knocking gently, not demanding entry, but waiting for acknowledgement. Today, you feel it more clearly because your heart is less guarded. God says, "This is not a message of urgency. It is a message of awareness. Awareness that your life has been guiding you toward alignment all along. Awareness that the lessons you resisted were shaping resilience. Awareness that the peace you searched for externally has been forming internally. Beloved soul, let this settle without analyzing it. You are not required to make a decision right now. You are only invited to recognize that you are not alone in your process. Every delay, every pause, every subtle redirection carried care within it. Even when you did not see it. God says, "Remain here a little longer. Let your breathing slow. Let your thoughts soften." The importance of this moment is not in what you must do next, but in what you are beginning to understand about yourself. You are ready to live with intention instead of reaction. You are ready to move with clarity instead of confusion. Beloved soul, this is not the end of attempts to reach you. It is the beginning of your ability to hear. And hearing changes everything gently. God says, beloved soul, as you sit with this awareness a little longer, something subtle begins to shift within you. It is not dramatic, not overwhelming, but steady. Alignment does not enter your life like a storm. It arrives like a quiet sunrise, gradually illuminating what has always been present but previously unnoticed. You begin to understand that nothing in your journey has been random, and that understanding softens the resistance you once carried. God says, many times you mistook protection for rejection and patience for delay. There were paths you wanted immediately, outcomes you believed were necessary, moments you felt ready for long before they arrived. Yet what you did not see was how timing was quietly preparing you, strengthening you in ways that could not happen if everything unfolded at your preferred pace. Growth required space. Wisdom required experience. Stability required understanding. Beloved soul, you have questioned yourself often. You have wondered whether you missed signs, whether you ignored guidance, whether you were too distracted to hear clearly. But listen carefully now, you were never outside of care. Even your uncertainty was part of learning discernment. Even your confusion was shaping clarity. Nothing was wasted. God says, alignment begins when you stop fighting your past and start integrating it. You realize that every lesson carried purpose, even the painful ones. Instead of wishing certain chapters away, you begin to see how they shaped your resilience, your empathy, your strength. This realization does not erase difficulty, but it transforms its meaning. Beloved soul, there were moments when you felt alone in your decision-making, when silence felt heavy and direction seemed unclear. In those moments, subtle guidance was still surrounding you. It showed up in instincts you could not explain, in hesitation that protected you, in peace that followed choices aligned with your values. Guidance rarely shouts. It affirms quietly. God says, as alignment deepens, your heart becomes less reactive. Situations that once unsettled you now feel manageable. You respond with thoughtfulness instead of urgency. This change is not accidental. It is the fruit of patience working within you over time. Beloved soul, you are beginning to trust yourself differently. Not because everything is certain, but because you understand your own rhythm more clearly. You recognize when something feels forced and when something feels natural. This recognition is alignment speaking through you. God says, when you release the need to control every outcome, space opens for clarity. In that space, direction becomes simpler. You see which connections support your peace and which drain it. You see which goals reflect your values and which were inherited from expectation. Awareness like this brings freedom. Beloved soul, alignment also invites forgiveness, not necessarily of others first, but of yourself. You forgive yourself for not knowing what you know now. You forgive yourself for choices made with limited understanding. This forgiveness restores confidence gently. God says, nothing about this moment is accidental. You are not hearing these words by coincidence. You are hearing them because your heart has matured enough to receive them without fear. Maturity does not mean perfection. It means readiness. Beloved reacting from old wounds the way it once did. Situations that previously triggered frustration now invite reflection. You pause. You observe. You choose. That pause is powerful. It is the space where wisdom lives. Beloved soul, you may notice that your priorities are becoming clearer. Things that once felt urgent no longer carry the same weight. You are more selective with your energy. You are more intentional with your commitments. This is not withdrawal. It is refinement. God says, transformation also reshapes your inner dialogue. Where there was once self-doubt, there is now measured understanding. Where there was once harsh self-judgment, there is now compassion. You are learning to treat yourself with the same patience you once reserved only for others. Beloved soul, you are beginning to understand that your worth was never dependent on how quickly things worked out. Your value was never tied to approval or comparison. It has always been constant. Recognizing this frees you from striving to prove what never required proof. God says, as transformation deepens, your sense of identity stabilizes. You no longer define yourself by temporary seasons. You understand that difficult chapters did not reduce you. They strengthened you. They revealed resilience you did not know you possessed. Beloved soul, this inner transformation influences your relationships too. You communicate more clearly. You listen without absorbing unnecessary weight. You respond from balance instead of emotion alone. This shift changes the tone of your interactions naturally. God says, you are not becoming someone new. You are becoming more fully yourself. The layers that formed from fear, pressure, and expectation are gently dissolving. What remains is clarity, steadiness, and grounded confidence. Beloved soul, allow this transformation to continue without forcing it. You do not need to measure your progress. The evidence is already visible in your calm reactions, your thoughtful decisions, and your quiet strength. God says, remain present with this unfolding. Transformation is not a single moment. It is a steady expansion of awareness. And you are already further along than you realize. God says, beloved soul, when transformation has taken root within you, it does not leave you wondering what comes next. It begins to guide you naturally. Direction no longer feels like something you must search for outside yourself. It begins to rise from within. You notice subtle clarity in your decisions. You feel less conflicted about your path. What once felt complicated now feels simplified through understanding. God says, peaceful direction does not mean every detail of your future is revealed. It means your heart is no longer restless about what it cannot control. You trust that what belongs in your life will align at the right pace. You no longer chase what forces you to abandon your peace. Instead, you move toward what sustains it. Beloved soul, as direction becomes clearer, your daily rhythm changes. You wake up without the same heaviness you once carried. You approach responsibilities with steadiness rather than pressure. You make choices based on values instead of reaction. This shift is quiet, but it reshapes your entire experience. God says, the importance of this moment is not about urgency. It is about recognition. You are finally recognizing how far you have grown. You are seeing how the lessons you once resisted have shaped your strength. You are understanding that nothing about your journey has been wasted. Beloved soul, peaceful direction also restores hope in a grounded way. Not a fragile hope dependent on perfect circumstances, but a stable hope rooted in your resilience. You trust yourself to adapt. You trust your ability to respond thoughtfully. This trust replaces fear with calm anticipation. God says, when life begins to flow with clarity, you feel more present in your relationships. You speak with intention. You listen with patience. You do not overextend yourself to earn acceptance. You show up authentically, knowing your value does not fluctuate with opinion. Beloved soul, this is the gentle unfolding that has been forming behind the scenes. What once felt like delay was preparation. What once felt like silence was alignment developing quietly. You are not arriving at something new. You are stepping fully into what was always meant for you. God says, forward movement from this place does not require force. It requires consistency. Small, steady steps guided by awareness will take you further than dramatic leaps driven by emotion. You understand this now. That understanding is maturity. Beloved soul, let yourself breathe deeply in this realization. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not disconnected. You have been guided patiently toward alignment, transformation, and now peaceful direction. The importance of this moment lies in your awareness of it. God says, remain steady. Let clarity guide you gently. Let peace inform your choices. The path ahead does not demand urgency. It invites presence. Beloved soul, this is not the end of guidance. It is the beginning of living with it consciously. And that changes everything quietly. God says, beloved soul, now that clarity has formed and peaceful direction has begun to guide you, something even deeper starts to take root. Peace is no longer a temporary feeling that comes and goes with circumstances. It becomes your foundation. You begin to carry it into conversations, into decisions, into moments that once would have unsettled you. This peace is not fragile. It is grounded in understanding. God says, when peace becomes your foundation, your reactions change naturally. You do not suppress emotion, but you no longer allow emotion to dictate your path. You feel fully, yet you choose thoughtfully. This balance strengthens you quietly. Beloved soul, quiet purpose begins to emerge from this peace. You are not searching desperately for meaning anymore. Meaning reveals itself through how aligned you feel with your daily actions. Even small tasks feel significant because they are connected to who you are becoming. God says, you once believed that purpose required dramatic change or visible success. Now you understand that purpose can exist in steady growth, in healthy boundaries, in compassionate responses. It exists in how you treat yourself and others with consistency. Beloved soul, as peace stabilizes, comparison loses its hold on you. You stop measuring your progress against others. You recognize that your timing is uniquely designed. This recognition removes unnecessary pressure and restores focus to your own journey. God says, quiet purpose also refines your decisions. You say yes with intention. You say no without guilt. You no longer agree to things that disturb your balance simply to maintain harmony. Your peace matters, and you honor it. Beloved soul, there will still be moments of uncertainty, but they will not shake your core. You understand that uncertainty is part of growth, not a sign of failure. You remain steady because your foundation is secure. God says, the importance of this entire unfolding was never about urgency. It was about awakening awareness. You are now more conscious of your inner guidance. You are more attentive to what supports your well-being. This awareness is the true transformation. Beloved soul, walking with quiet purpose does not mean your life becomes silent or without challenge. It means challenges no longer define you. They become experiences you navigate with wisdom rather than fear. God says, continue gently. Continue steadily. Continue honoring the peace that has formed within you. You do not need dramatic confirmation. Your calm is confirmation enough. Beloved soul, the effort to reach you was never about forcing change. It was about reminding you of your capacity to live aligned, grounded, and intentional. Now you walk forward not searching for signs, but recognizing them within your own clarity. God says, remain present in this awareness. Let your peace guide you. Let your purpose grow quietly. The life unfolding before you will reflect the steadiness you now carry within. God says, beloved soul, now that peace has become your foundation and quiet purpose has begun guiding your steps, something even more meaningful unfolds. Awareness becomes lifestyle. What once felt like a temporary realization becomes the way you think, the way you choose, the way you respond. You are no longer returning to old patterns because you see them clearly now. Clarity protects you without making you defensive. God says, lasting peace does not mean you will never face difficulty again. It means difficulty will not take away your center. You have discovered that your strength is not loud, not dramatic, but consistent. You no longer need to convince yourself that you are growing. You feel it in your calm reactions, in your measured words, in your ability to pause before speaking. Beloved soul, there was a time when you searched for reassurance outside of yourself. You looked for confirmation in circumstances, in approval, in outcomes. Now you recognize reassurance within your own alignment. When something feels peaceful, you trust it. When something disturbs your balance, you examine it gently instead of ignoring it. God says, living differently does not require drastic change. It requires conscious presence. You are more attentive to your thoughts. You are more intentional with your time. You choose environments that support your well-being rather than challenge it unnecessarily. These small shifts accumulate into transformation that feels stable rather than forced. Beloved soul, lasting peace also deepens gratitude. Not superficial gratitude, but grounded appreciation for the journey itself. You see how every season shaped you. You understand that even confusion carried instruction. This understanding removes bitterness and replaces it with wisdom. God says, as awareness strengthens, fear loses influence. Not because fear disappears entirely, but because you recognize it without obeying it. You listen to your intuition more closely than your anxiety. That distinction changes everything. Beloved soul, you now move forward with gentleness toward yourself. You allow mistakes without harsh judgment. You allow rest without guilt. You allow progress without comparison. This gentleness preserves your energy and keeps your heart open. God says, the importance of this moment was always about awakening you to your own steadiness. The effort to reach you was not about urgency. It was about readiness. You are ready now, not for something dramatic, but for something sustainable. Beloved soul, when you look back on this period of growth, you will realize it was not loud or visible to everyone around you. It was internal. It was steady. It was sacred in its quietness. That kind of transformation lasts. God says, continue walking with this awareness. Continue choosing peace. Continue listening to the steady voice within you that guides without pressure. You are not searching anymore. You are living consciously. Beloved soul, this is the true beginning. Not a beginning filled with urgency, but one grounded in clarity and trust. Let your life unfold from this place of understanding. What grows from peace will always be strong. If this message brought lasting peace and conscious awareness to your heart, type Amen and remain present. There is nothing to rush, only something to live fully.